This is SaaS Therapy.
Hey, everybody. Happy July. This is Todd Kirk here from SaaS Therapy, joined with my ever-present co-host, Casey Churjillo. And today, I decided to introduce us differently. I don't know, maybe it's just the summer is getting to me, but I am really excited to jump in with my main man, Casey, and have a discussion around some of the big developments that are happening in the world of AI and the SaaS world in general. There's been some really crazy stuff happening this summer. And pumped to dive in. Casey,
All
how you
right.
doing, friend?
I'm doing so good. I love how you said welcome to the month of July. You didn't say what year. So if this doesn't go well, we want to
True.
use it in 2027.
Yeah, we'll just hold it
Wait,
off.
I just gave it away. Dang it. Okay. TK, I want you know weird facts. I always think that you'd be a great contestant on Jeopardy. You'd be able to throw out random answers.
I'm no Ken Jennings, but I
Is
guess you do okay.
is this true? Michelin restaurants actually came, or the concept of a Michelin restaurant came from Michelin tires?
I don't know. I actually don't know. You
Good. Okay, you're gonna look this up, fact check me, and then if I'm wrong on our podcast and thousands upon thousands of our listeners say, oh, "Wow, that was horrible." From what I understand, the automobile was starting. Obviously, tires only make money when you use the tires, so we want them to be worn out.
fact check true from what I can tell. So
Okay, so
all the way back in the 1920s.
what Michelin did is they created a road guide. So I have this new car. What should I do with it? Where should I go? And so they mapped out these places you might want to stop, restaurants that they think that you would fall in love with. And so they would have these guides. Well, I'm going from this point to this point, or this city to this city, and gosh, you definitely want to stop by this restaurant and have this particular food. And from that concept, because again, Michelin's plan was to get you to drive your car more, so that you use the tires more, so that they could
You'd have
keep
to replace them more and they could charge you more. Yeah.
Right. But they answered the question, well, where do you want to go? Where would you want to go? And they made that enticing so that you started to do that. And off of that, that's where this whole thing of do you have a Michelin star, or how many Michelin stars do you have? It actually came from a tire company. Is that all true? Are you seeing that? Is that all fact check true?
It seems to be true and actually is really awesome. Why haven't we used this analogy before? This seems like such a good TED Talk for us that just really
Is it not?
customers, because it's so relevant, right? That
It's
feels like
it's
what SaaS is all about, right? We're trying to help someone find a use case to use our product more so that they want to keep us more. And when we solve problems for them in ways that are really enjoyable and delightsome, then it causes them to be a more successful. And oftentimes that means being really creative and helping them see what they want rather than just, I don't know what it was like in the 1920s. Maybe Michelin also was spending tons and tons of energy trying to convince people that their tires were the strongest and the best and the most wonderful.
Yeah,
But,
right.
to just convince people to drive more is genius, right?
So one of those plays, and I'm going to give you some background of why I think this is similar to this, but also it's something that's been a playbook that Microsoft has done before. Because our listeners, we have people that are in customer success, customer education. We have CROs, different types of leadership listening to this podcast. So we want to give you a little bit of a heads up, because you're probably going to get asked around about this. So recently, Microsoft announced that they're putting, and let's just read this so we have this exactly right. They're investing, what did they say? $2.5 billion, and not that they didn't acquire a company. It's a new line of business called Microsoft Frontier Company. Okay. And the goal of this is to provide organizations that want to better utilize AI. And what they're saying is this doesn't have to be AI specific to Microsoft. It doesn't have to be Microsoft Copilot. Like they're open to any models that you might be using. And what they want to focus on, their main thing is we want to deliver business outcomes and not just install AI technology. So there are going to be about 6,000 AI industry experts. I think there's going to be some partners involved, obviously, in regards to this. But what Microsoft is saying is, we see that our customers are struggling with this. They're not sure what AI model to utilize. There's so many AI different tools to use that maybe you're choosing one that doesn't work, or you think you have to just use one. And okay, what's the governance and security around this? Who's going to own all of this? And Microsoft saying, hey, we're going to create a line of business to better help you with this. Todd, would you add anything to just what maybe they're saying the purpose of the Microsoft Frontier company is and what they're trying to do?
Yeah, I would say. By the way, I think this is really a fascinating development, and it 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 gives credence to some of the things that I've heard recently, which is that a lot of the kind of the future of SaaS is probably a service masquerading as a service, or a true human service masquerading as a subscription. And what's interesting about this in particular is that it is something that is as a model was really popular back in the day pre-SaaS, right? Most of these organizations had these very, especially enterprise software, everything was very custom, everything was set up to be exactly what the organization wanted. And it was really time intensive and super laborious and really difficult. So what did you do? You sent in what I think the term back in the day was like a forward deployed engineer, which it
Mm,
basically means I'm taking my talent internally at my organization. I'm a software and a technology company. I'm going to take my personnel and I'm going to embed them in your organization far in advance of them coming down. So I'm helping them build out the solution that they want to have, right? Well, what's interesting about that is what did SaaS do? SaaS made it so that it was really easy to deploy
yeah. Right.
solutions. And so everything kind of became all I don't know, like everybody was forced to fit their world to Salesforce. They were forced to
Mhm.
fit their world to
Yeah.
SharePoint, right? Or they
Right.
were forced to fit their world to whatever. Insert software here. Well, what AI has introduced is it's given the customer this belief, this idea that they can get that super custom touch, but it's going to be way less expensive than it was in the 1990s or the early 2000s before SaaS really started to take off. And so to me, what this seems to suggest is that there is a there's such a large revolutionary shift with AI that Microsoft is banking pretty big on this idea that if you really want to deploy these really awesome custom solutions inside your organization, you're going to need a lot of help. And if Microsoft sits on their heels and waits,
Uh,
then Anthropic's going to come do it, or OpenAI is going to come do it, or one of these other organizations is going to come in and everybody's going to end up deploying and investing all of their time and energy in their competitors and their partners, and Microsoft is going to get left in the dust. So to me, this shows that there is a great need as the world is evolving right now to get ahead of where your customers acts are kind of caught a little bit flat-footed, not sure how they're going to react to all of what's happening in the LLM space and how that's impacting their kind of cash cow businesses that they've had for decades.
okay, TK. So again, these are Todd Kirk, Casey Trujillo's thoughts. We're not representing any thoughts. There's no insider information that we have from any of these companies. This is SaaS therapy's always been built on. Hey, we're having a conversation, discussing things that
Probably a
are
good disclaimer. Everybody probably just thought that Todd knows a bunch of stuff that he
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
know.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
yeah.
me speculating based off of what I see out in the market.
Okay. So here's my take on this, TK, is Microsoft is the first one to wave the white flag. They're surrendering. And what they're saying is the promise of AI being easy to use and everyone's going to adopt it is false. It's not happening. And I know Anthropic is selling licenses like crazy and they're eating tokens like crazy and there's just so much money going on there. Like I'm not dismissing the fact that companies have grown tremendously because of AI models and their AI tool sets that they have. I'm not saying that's not true. That is true, but two things can be true at the same time. The second thing is true is that the adoption and business outcomes outside of someone I created some AI tool to answer my emails faster for me, or I created an AI tool to summarize my reports better. Like some things that are like, well, that was cute and nice, but is that really worth that amount of money? I think what's happening is people are saying, I bought a lot of money, or I paid a lot of money for licenses. What I have used has cost me a lot of money. And the business outcomes that I'm supposed to be getting from this isn't coming
Mhm.
to fruition. And Microsoft, because they're so brilliant, they're at the first of this and they're saying, hey, we're going to change this. And you're going to see everybody's going to, everybody's going to, I'm sure if we went and investigated, I'm sure everybody else, I'm sure everybody else is coming up with their frontier line business internally that's going to do the exact same thing. Everybody's going to mimic and follow the same people. They're going to do the same thing. But what they're really saying is you need more handholding and you don't have a team internally that can actually manage all of this and and go through all of these different items that need to be done to actually create and use AI in a way that really creates a business outcome that the CEO or the CFO, he or she is like, wow, that was a game changer what we just did. And they have a true measurable to it. And so they're putting people to go inside, create these applications, apps, different things like this in the way that the customer wants it, so that the customer can say that was worth it. And I think Microsoft's the first one to raise the white flag and say, hey, people invested billions in us. We got to invest billions back into them and make this work and show that it's actually working.
Yeah.
That's my take in what's happening.
Well, I think so. I'm gonna agree with you, but I'm also gonna agree with myself because I think if people
Oh,
heard what
nice.
I said and what people heard you said, is it almost sounds like maybe you and I are actually saying two different things, right? Which is one, Microsoft is reacting to and changing their approach based off of the fact that customers are maybe leaving, right? They might Microsoft is probably feeling some pain. If you look at their stock ticker for this year, it's gone down pretty good this year because they're facing some pretty significant headwinds. They're not winning in the like, hey, here's your really easy AI tool that can just do anything play,
Right.
right? Claude is winning that battle right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so because of that, they have to figure out some way to change the narrative. And where the brilliance here is if you really think about it, like I don't know what everybody else's experience with AI, but I've seen this in a lot of the orgs that I work with. I've seen this in my org here. Is that one of the things that people oftentimes do is as soon as you give somebody access to AI, and 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 there is a switch that flips for people beyond just like, hey, it can answer emails for me a little bit better, and they can start realizing that they too can act like a product engineer. They can be somebody who builds stuff. The problem is if everybody in the entire organization is building their own application, instead of just using the tools that have been given to them in the org, the data lives centralized in a place that anybody can actually track and manage it. If
Yes.
I built something really cool for myself and it's not managed by the organization and then I leave or I change roles and I can't, it's not like I'm giving it out to my team members. Now I've just created, and if I did do that, all of a sudden now I just created this massive backlog of work and projects for my dev team to go about because I just said, here's a bazillion ideas of things that we possibly could do that could maybe possibly one day maybe give value to the company. And yet they have to then somehow figure out what actually matters. And they still have a traditional roadmap and a traditional focus that they, as the development team, actually have to focus on. So it's creating a ton of noise for a lot of organizations, and they don't know where to focus and they don't know how to spend their energies and they don't know how to turn these ideas and these resources and even things that are working into something that could last in the long term. Because I've seen people build some amazing stuff with
Yeah.
AI, and it's incredible what is actually possible. But, if me as an individual contributor, if I go build some really cool idea or app or report or tool or whatever using Claude, it's not productized and it's not something that's actually going to be able to be useful to the organization beyond me as the individual. So the place where this gets really interesting, right, is like it's true that Claude's messaging is working and people are starting to jump on the bandwagon and do some really cool stuff, and it's scaring Microsoft. But it's also true that the gains and the work that is happening isn't something that is actually enterprise ready that can really be converted into real long-term value for the business. And somebody has to bridge that gap. And I think that's where Microsoft sees the opportunity, right? And maybe a way to change the narrative a little bit about where they are. So if they're successful, could be really cool. And I think you're right. You will see lots more people copy this model and start saying, let's move, let's get our expertise more in front of where the customer is today. Did you ever see the movie? Well, no, I think there's actually in the book, but do you remember the movie Catch Me If You Can?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't read the book, just saw the movie.
Yeah, I don't remember if this is in the movie, or if it's in the book, but there's a line where he said because he taught as an adjunct professor at a university when he was like 19. He somehow got a job. And he's like, I just stayed a chapter ahead of my class. Right. And so one of the things that I think is challenging for most of the organizations is they feel like they're not ahead of their class. Right. Like everybody's figuring it out at the same time. And there are people who do know, and there are people who are ahead, but how are they actually spending their time? They're not really helping the orgs figure out this battle, right? So you got to put you got to put the professor who's a chapter ahead back in front of the class so that they can figure out where to go
I
next.
love it. And just so again, everyone knows this is just a conversation we're having. I couldn't agree more with what Todd said. Like at the company we work for, we have an AI initiative once a quarter. You need to come up with the way that AI is helping you in your business. It's not any AI product in particular. It's just any AI tool. A colleague of mine has always struggled with getting the right dashboard. They're always pinging our team saying, "Hey, I need this report. I need that report." Well, she went and built it herself. Awesome. Looks great for her. She's able to show management, hey, here's where things are at, all those wonderful things. But Todd, everything you just said, well, that dashboard could have been built in the system we had.
Hmm.
Just the backlog of time and that person or the people that could go build it, it just took them time.
Well,
And
it's
so
currently running on her machine using her machine resources. It's
exactly,
not like, so it gives her
exactly.
what she needs, but it's not like something that could just
Yes,
be turned into a tool that the whole org could then use, right?
exactly. Yeah. So all things are correct here. All things are right in this regard. And so the reason why I felt this was important for the audience to hear is I've been, with age comes sometimes wisdom. I just want everyone to realize what Microsoft just did because they've done this before, Todd,
Hmm.
and they crushed it. They did so well. So I'm going to backtrack here for people because I've been in the Microsoft space and partnered with them for 15 plus years. Again, this is no insider info. This is just me being part and working with Microsoft where I've seen this happen before. So Todd Kirk, I'm going to take everybody back to when people were on prem. Oh my gosh, can anyone even remember those days? If I could do the dial up sound of a modem, I would do it right now. So people would have a good chuckle. And for people that are really young, they're like, what's a dial up modem? But Microsoft,
Just for my own humble, I'm also kind of old brag. I'm not as old as you, Casey. You're ancient, but my first role in professional training services was to do live training, where I had to actually haul around physical servers and pixie boot laptops on
nice.
on-prem Microsoft instance for SharePoint 2011, like 2013. It was
I can't remember. We can't even remember the names of the versions.
that's
So
I'm old too. I
yeah.
remember back in the on-prem days. So
So
that's my only.
yeah. So Microsoft, they come out with, gosh, was it Microsoft Link? Was that the Teams version or whatever?
Mhm,
I
yeah,
can't
Link
or
Link
Teams.
was see, this is also I've been in the space a long time. Link was their enterprise chat tool, and
Yes.
then they acquired Skype and they rebranded
Yes.
Link to Skype for Business,
Business.
and then Slack came on the scene and they were getting their butts kicked, so then they launched Teams, and
Okay,
then
perfect.
they
So
killed Skype.
they're starting to try to get everyone. Satya is taking over. They're trying to get over, or maybe not then. I can't remember. Anyways, they're trying to get people over to Microsoft 365. Or at the time Office 365. They're trying to get everybody on the cloud, and so they're starting to roll off the early adopters. Right, we started getting people onto the cloud, and guess what? People that are moving on the cloud aren't having success. People are now hearing those stories, and they're like, "Hey, I don't know if I want to move." So Microsoft starts something that they call the Microsoft Fast Track Program. Okay. You can look it up, people. Go
I
look up
do
this
I
program.
do remember the fast track program.
So what it was designed to do is Microsoft had a line of business and they would have partners be part of it also, where their goal was in 90 days, they would get you off and running in the cloud. And they had measurables like you had to have like 80% of your workforce utilizing a couple of different feature sets inside of Outlook and Teams and some different things like that. But you had to hit a point and then you were done, meaning that you had seen enough value to say that was worth it. And the fast track program took off. And every customer, not every customer, but a majority of the customers felt very comfortable because of this fast track program. And what I'm seeing Microsoft do with this frontier company is they're like, hey, we had this issue before. We had issue with getting people onto the cloud feeling that there was value there, seeing all the benefits, taking away the security risks. And they started this fast track program and they moved a bunch of customers over and they had tremendous success because they said, our goal is to get you up and running within hopefully 90 days. Here's your measurables, here's your benchmarks. And when you hit this point, do we both agree that you've been successful? Yes, great. Here's what the fast track program is going to be able to offer you. And it was a list of services to get you off and running. They're doing it again,
Mhm.
rebranding it, renaming it. This is what this is going to be designed to do to help you do that. So the reason why I'm bringing that up, software vendors out there, you should be taking a look at this. You should be having discussions around what would your frontier line of business look like for you? How can you get people utilizing your product as quick as possible to see the business outcomes they're looking for? Like I would be mimicking and learning about this model as fast as I possibly could because it's going to work. And there, Microsoft's going to jump back in being the leader. Mark my words, Todd Kirk. In a year from now, people are going to go, wow, that frontier company, that was genius in what Microsoft did.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. One of the things that is really, I think, again, it goes back to what we started this conversation around, was it wasn't just, so fast track was a pretty brilliant move, and that program was super successful. But what's also interesting is if you go back and you think about it, the big difference in the past of how Microsoft looked at this was they were always trying to do this so that they could sell just the license. And
Mm,
I think Microsoft's in this world now where, like, what the big challenge that you have with LLMs is they're becoming more and more of a commodity.
yeah,
And the more
right.
and more they become a commodity, the more and more similar they become, the cheaper and cheaper they become, the harder it is for a company like Microsoft to actually make money, because it's really just going to end up becoming this kind of foundational layer. But again, just because you have the foundation of, like, I have an LLM and my users know how to prompt, that's not enough generally to really help your organization see some sort of real solution. You have to go build something that aligns to what your company's mission and purpose and goal and value actually is. And it's going to be something more than just like some efficiency gains, which is primarily what people are seeing today. And so I think what Microsoft is realizing is that there is a lot of money to be made by taking taking their customers to this next level, and proving out that they can be a trusted resource that will ensure that the customer gets where they need to go. And I think that mindset, I mean, that was part of what made Fast Track successful. Was it They came at the customer and said, we are going to do everything we possibly can to ensure that you don't feel like you left ROI on the table. I mean, like, a big one of the things that was really, I mean, this was like a more of a footnote, but I remember I worked with a guy back in the days, a long time ago, who actually helped build out Microsoft's ROI calculators. And one of the
Mm,
things they did is they did all the analysis on, like, what the ROI is going to be and what the expectations are and how they're going to measure that and what all of that looks like. And then they could actually go in and then with a pretty reasonable degree of certainty help you feel more confident that you were going to win.
yep.
And
Yep.
I think that is
It is.
the problem with most SaaS companies, and Microsoft and everybody else has kind of suffered from it, is I can give you a subscription, it's way cheaper, or it feels way cheaper than buying an on-prem solution cost in the past. And you never really get to that depth of value that you really, 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 really wanted to get. And so this is a great opportunity to then reimagine how do you go and support your customer, really, really serve them, really invest in helping them succeed, and not just, you know, make sure that they feel like they are using it so that they renew. There has to be something different that's going to evolve in this new AI world. And yeah, maybe this is one of the first hammers to drop in that shift and that change.
Yeah, you can see the big players are going to mimic this. A couple things that Microsoft did. I don't know if they'll do it with this Frontier because obviously it's they're just made that announcement of what they're doing. But a couple things they did is they would the fast track program they would tie it to the amount of spend. So the amount of hours you got with fast track, amount of services you got, the amount of spend that you had, they would have different alignments. They would incentivize partners to become fast track certified. So they could, on bigger accounts that needed more hand holding, there's funding that they could put towards the partner. And then, of course, there are additional services the fast track team would provide internally for Microsoft. So that way it was a win for the partner. They got in, they were able to help out. There were some incentives that Microsoft would pay to the partner, and all of this to the customer to sign the deals that they wanted them to sign to get to the span where they wanted to get to, right? Because again, we had immediate success in 90 days. Why would I not now look at, SharePoint Online? Why would I not now look at OneDrive, right? Why would I not look at these different applications that Microsoft is saying, hey, look how this is going to tie in. Look how this is going to tie in. Look how this is going to tie in. You just had success here. Why wouldn't we have success here, right? So it's a genius move. I loved the announcement. Kudos to Microsoft and just saying, hey, we're going to recognize what's going on and we're going to see the opportunity. And I hope that's what, if I was going to give our homework, we always do this with SaaS Therapy, always give a homework assignment to our listeners. The homework assignment today is, are your customers really having the success with your product? And if not, I would really look to mimic this. I would, because Microsoft is going to scoop up so much business off of this. They're going to do some good integrations with other AI resources. They're going to play nice in certain areas, but I guarantee you, just like the Michelin tire, baby, these Michelin star restaurants, there's a purpose why they're going to be there. So you're going to buy more tires because you see the guidebook and it led you to places that you wanted to go. So copy it, TK, mark it down. July of 2026. I'm going to put a year to it. This will be a game changer in that and AI sales, AI adoption, and how Microsoft's approaching it. I promise you that.
Yeah, I love it. Well, for those of you who haven't heard about this, maybe just go read. A lot of SaaS companies ignore Microsoft, but they are one of the largest SaaS companies in the world. And enterprise space, especially, they pretty much own the market. So go see what they're doing. Go see if there's anything that you can learn. Really fascinating move. So, Casey, this is great. For those of you who are new, if this is your first time here, sometimes it's just me and Casey. Sometimes it's awesome guests. We hope you come back. We release new episodes every Wednesday, and come follow us. Check us out here on anywhere you watch your podcasts or on YouTube, and comment. Tell us what you think. Maybe Casey's full of it, and he's totally wrong. And Microsoft's
a year from now, we're gonna redo this a year from now and see where I was at. See how both of our.
I love it. So good. Thanks, Casey. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a great rest of your week. SaaS Therapy is brought to you by Brainstorm, the SaaS platform for SaaS adoption. Learn more at brainstorminc.com.